the world ablaze. Introduction to the World Wars. The 20th century witnessed two global conflicts of unprecedented scale and devastation. These wars reshaped the political, social, and economic landscape of the world. Millions perished, empires crumbled, and ideologies clashed. World War I shattered the illusion of peace and progress. World War II saw the horrors of genocide and atomic bombs. These conflicts remind us of humanity's capacity for both destruction and resilience. The guns of August causes of the First World War. The outbreak of World War I was triggered by long-term factors and short-term crises.
Nationalism and ethnic tensions played a significant role. European powers engaged in a dangerous arms race. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo ignited the conflict. The alliance system dragged nations into the conflict. Europe was engulfed in a war that lasted 4 years.
Scars of Versailles, consequences of the Great War. The First World War ended in 1918 with the defeat of the Central Powers. The Allied victory came at a tremendous cost, with millions dead and Europe in ruins.
The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, sowed the seeds for future conflicts. It imposed harsh punishments on Germany, including territorial losses and reparations. This fueled German nationalism and extremist ideologies like Nazism.
The Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires were dismantled, redrawing the map of Europe and the Middle East. The war had profound social and economic consequences. The devastation and disillusionment set the stage for another global conflict. The gathering stormed the path to World War II. The seeds of World War II were sown in the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, while intended to prevent future wars, ultimately contributed to the rise of fascism and renewed global conflict.
The global economic depression of the 1930s exacerbated tensions, creating fertile ground for extremist ideologies. In Germany, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party exploited economic hardship and national resentment to seize power in 1933. Hitler's expansionist ambitions, fueled by his belief in German superiority, directly challenged the post-war order.
He rebuilt Germany's military, defying the Treaty of Versailles, and embarked on a campaign of territorial expansion. In Asia, Japan, driven by militaristic ambitions and a desire for resources, invaded Manchuria in 1931, marking the beginning of its expansionist campaign.
Italy, under Benito Mussolini, also embraced fascist ideology and pursued imperial ambitions in Africa. The League of Nations, weakened by inaction and a lack of collective will, proved ineffective in addressing these growing threats to peace.
World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, ended in 1945 with the defeat of the Axis powers, Germany, Japan, and Italy. The war left an estimated 40 to 85 million dead and vast swaths of Europe and Asia in ruins.
The use of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki ushered in the terrifying reality of nuclear warfare.
The war's end marked a turning point in human history.
The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, their rivalry shaping the post-war world order.
The formation of the United Nations in 1945 represented a renewed commitment to international cooperation and the prevention of future wars.
The war also had profound social and political consequences.
The horrors of the Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews, led to the creation of the State of Israel in 1948 and fueled the global movement for human rights.
The war's end witnessed the decline of European colonialism and the rise of independence movements across Asia and Africa.
The aftermath of World War II saw the emergence of a bipolar world order dominated by the United States and the Soviet Union.
This rivalry, known as the Cold War, shaped global politics for decades.
Both superpowers possessed nuclear weapons, creating an atmosphere of constant tension and the looming threat of nuclear annihilation.
The Cold War was characterized by proxy wars, espionage, and ideological competition.
The US and its allies promoted democracy and capitalism, while the Soviet Union supported communist regimes.
The world became divided into two blocs, with countries aligning themselves with either superpower.
The Cold War also witnessed significant technological advancements, particularly in the fields of nuclear weapons, space exploration, and computing.
The space race, a competition between the US and the Soviet Union to achieve superiority in spaceflight capability, captured the world's imagination.
While the Cold War ended with the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the world continues to grapple with conflicts and tensions.
Many of these conflicts are rooted in historical grievances, ethnic tensions, and competition for resources.
The rise of new technologies and the changing nature of warfare have further complicated these challenges.
Modern conflicts are often characterized by asymmetrical warfare, where state actors confront non-state actors, such as terrorist organizations.
The proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, including chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons, poses a significant threat to global security.
Cyber warfare, a relatively new form of conflict, has emerged as a major concern.
State-sponsored hackers can disrupt critical infrastructure, steal sensitive information, and sow discord within societies.
The interconnected nature of the modern world means that the consequences of these attacks can be far-reaching.
The Bear and the Eagle, unpacking the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which began in 2014, exemplifies the complexities of modern warfare and the enduring legacies of the past.
The conflict is rooted in historical ties, geopolitical ambitions, and competing visions for the future of Eastern Europe. Russia, seeking to reassert its influence in its near abroad, annexed the Crimean Peninsula in 2014 and supported separatist movements in eastern Ukraine.
Ukraine, seeking closer ties with the West and aspiring to join NATO, resisted Russian pressure and sought to maintain its territorial integrity. The conflict escalated dramatically in February 2022, when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
The invasion, widely condemned by the international community, has resulted in thousands of civilian casualties and triggered a massive refugee crisis. The conflict highlights the fragility of peace in the 21st century and the devastating human cost of war.
A Land Divided, examining the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, one of the most enduring and intractable conflicts of the 20th and 21st centuries, is rooted in competing claims to the same land and decades of mistrust and violence.
The conflict is characterized by territorial disputes, security concerns, and the struggle for self-determination. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, following the Holocaust and the end of British mandate for Palestine, displaced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians and ignited the First Arab-Israeli War.
Subsequent wars and ongoing tensions have resulted in the deaths of thousands on both sides. The conflict is further complicated by the issue of settlements, with Israel establishing communities in the West Bank, territory claimed by Palestinians for a future state.
The construction of a separation barrier intended to improve Israeli security has further inflamed tensions.
The spectre of a Third World War, once a distant fear, has re-emerged in recent years, fueled by rising global tensions, nationalist rhetoric, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. On the precipice of the threat of World War III, the interconnected nature of the modern world means that a conflict between major powers could have catastrophic consequences, potentially drawing in other nations and escalating into a global conflagration.
The ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the threat of nuclear proliferation, and the potential for miscalculation or escalation in other hotspots have raised concerns about a wider conflict.
The use of nuclear weapons, even on a limited scale, would have devastating humanitarian and environmental consequences.
The international community must work together to address the root causes of conflict, promote dialogue and diplomacy, and strengthen mechanisms for conflict prevention and resolution.
Lest we forget. Echoes of war in the 21st century. The echoes of the 20th century's world wars continue to reverberate in the 21st century. The lessons learned from these conflicts, the devastating costs of war, the importance of diplomacy and international cooperation, and the need to address the root causes of conflict remain as relevant as ever.
As we navigate a world grappling with new and evolving challenges, from climate change to pandemics to technological disruption, it is imperative that we remember the lessons of the past. We must strive to build a more peaceful and just world, one where dialogue trumps violence and cooperation replaces confrontation.
The pursuit of peace is not a passive endeavor, but an active and ongoing process. It requires constant vigilance, a willingness to address injustice, and a commitment to building bridges of understanding across divides.
Only then can we hope to silence the echoes of war and secure a brighter future for generations to come.